What up, everyone? Pat Mayo here with your Week 14 DraftKings Picks and preview. Smash the like if you're out there, and if you're looking for the entire Pat Mayo experience, full breakdown of this DraftKings slate, head on over to Mayo Media Network on YouTube or download the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Full cheat sheet will be up Saturday on dkplaybook.com, so for sure, always go check that out because it gets updated if more injuries occur. Let's start at the running back position. There's no Christian McCaffrey, which leads you directly to Derrick Henry at $500 cheaper. I actually would prefer to go up to Dalvin Cook at 94 over Derrick Henry just because everyone's using Derrick Henry. Dalvin Cook, even in a bad matchup, can still really come through. But the proper move is likely to play it a bit cheaper on this slate and maybe even start your teams with Austin Eckler at $7,000. That way, you still have a bit more flexibility on the go. He's in a nice spot against Atlanta, who does not defend very well against pass-catching running backs. And it's going to be a very popular game, one of the highest over-unders of the week. Other than that, David Montgomery at $6,500 just continues to present really good value for someone who gets that many touches. That's still way too cheap. You can take your shots with Mike Davis and Josh Jacobs, but I don't really know about them, or even Miles Sanders. I would just prefer DeAndre Swift if I'm going to gamble in this range. It's a great matchup. He practiced on Friday in full, and if the new coaching staff is really committed to giving him the touches, that's where you want to be. From the lower end, J.D. McKissic is going to be the most popular cheap option at running back. I would just prefer to stick at $5,000 while it's less safe. I think the upside is higher with someone like Gio Bernard or even Duke Johnson. I prefer Gio Bernard at $5,000 more than Duke Johnson at $49,000, but I think both of those guys are adequate pivots off of J.D. McKissic, who is a great floor, but really lacks upside because of touchdown value. If Giovanni Bernard can get it going against Dallas, he is still likely to get the goal line touches. So that is the pivot play in that area. At the wide receiver position, there's no Julio Jones. So let's go to the bottom first and really think this through. Brashad Perriman with no Denzel Mims is going to be a very popular play, but at the Stone Mint, $3,000, Christian Blake is there. I don't fully endorse Christian Blake, but if you do need a last man in because you want to jam in all of the expensive players that you can, with no Julio, no Zacchaeus, everyone's probably going to end up going to Gage. Ridley's still a fine option, but if you're looking for who's probably going to be the number two filling in that Julio role, it's not going to be Powell. It's going to be Christian Blake. In the matchup against the Chargers, who've ceded a ton of points to wide receiver too, you can definitely make the case, and at $3,000, he doesn't even have to do that much. You can squeeze like 10 to 15 points out of him. What that allows you to do, paying up in the rest of your lineup, could very much be worth it, whether that means getting to Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams or Travis Kelce, that kind of thing. You can really kind of reverse engineer your lineups if you need a last man in. At $3,000, that's a way you can go. Other than that, Brashad Perriman at $39 is a very viable option, but honestly, just go to the top and play Devontae Adams. This is about as good of a spot as you can be in of anyone. It's indoors as well. He has been basically the best DraftKings player there is consistently on a week-to-week basis. I get that he's $9,300. I like him better than the top-end running backs this week. If you're going to pay up in your salary, use Devontae Adams in this area. If you do want to play somewhat of a contrarian move, all of these guys are obviously fantastic options because they all cost the monies. You can look at Justin Jefferson against Tampa at $7,400. Even like the Cousins, Thielen, and Jefferson stack actually makes a lot of sense because everyone is so afraid of this Tampa defense, which you probably should be, but we know what the upside of these guys are, and without Kyle Rudolph playing and Irv Smith still pretty banged up and Tampa being so good against the run, if everything does funnel through Thielen and Jefferson, you could be looking at a situation where Kirk Cousins can throw for like 280 and 2 touchdowns, but both those guys end up eating. So that's something to be very aware of. In the middle range, I think it's pretty easy if you want to go to Corey Davis. With Jonnu back this week, that could take something away, but he's just been so good and the price is right. I prefer Robbie Anderson in the low $6,000 area. If that's a suggestion that you want to go with, that's the piece of Carolina's offense that I like this week with no DJ Moore around. I would guess that Curtis Samuel is going to be the more popular option with the expected uptick in both carries with no Christian McCaffrey and target share with no DJ Moore. But Robbie Anderson has been the man in this offense all year long as it comes to targets. No DJ Moore should allow him to get down the field a little bit more. Tight end, you got two options. You can pay up to the very top and take Travis Kelce in a fantastic situation against the Dolphins. That is the preferred move if you have the salary cap. With Daniel Jones likely returning, Evan Ingram is somewhat, he's not sneaky, but it's a nice matchup at $4,300. Same with Robert Tonyan at $42 against Detroit, but Logan Thomas at $3,300 should be the expected play here. Irv Smith, maybe you can get to, but I'd drop even lower than that and go to Cole Kmet now that he's running more snaps than Jimmy Graham against the Houston Texans, who just don't cover tight ends. So that is a punt play if you want to go to that level. At quarterback, just think about what stacks you want this week. The three most popular are likely going to be a stack with either Mahomes, Justin Herbert, or Aaron Rodgers. I like that Aaron Rodgers one the best because it gets you Devontae Adams, and I think that is the highest upside you can go. If you want a sneaky stack this week, you have to hold your nose, not really look at it, but Mitch Trubisky, Cole Kmet, and Allen Robinson. Here we go. It's super cheap, and it does allow you flexibility to get up at all of the other positions without breaking your bank on a stack. You see Trubisky is $5,600. Kmet is below $3,000. Allen Robinson is just on the fringe of top 10 at wide receiver. So if you have that as your core and you can bring it back with a Brandon Cooks or a Duke Johnson or whoever you want in that offense, Kiki Cutie even. Maybe you just do even a naked three-person stack of those three and hope that it works out, and then your top-end guys end up going off. You can still have Devontae Adams in that lineup. You can still have Derrick Henry in that lineup. Defense, make it easy on yourself. Just fade the pure chalk of the Dallas Cowboys this week and their terrible defense. Everyone wants to use them because they're cheap. I'll just take a pass on that. The Washington football team at $2,800 is my preferred play against Nick Mullins and the San Francisco 49ers. You want to pay up just a little bit more. You can get yourself to, let's say, the Bears are in a really nice spot. If you do have the leftover money, the Saints at 38 are in a terrific spot and an opportunity against Jalen Hurts just based on sack and turnover potential, but they're pretty expensive. You don't want to be we just talked about ways to save your money to get to the very top. I'm not talking about getting to the top of defense. I'm talking about getting to the top of running back, tight end, or receiver. But if you do have the extra money, the Saints are a pretty good play here. I'm Pat Mayo. Once again, you can find my cheat sheet up at dkplaybook.com on Saturday afternoon. Until then, I'll see you next week.